Good morning. We'll just give it a few moments for everybody to load in through the webinar and then we will begin. So, good morning and welcome to our Horticulture Degree Programmes webinar. I'm Kaylee, I'm a graduate from Horticulture University College and I now work within their marketing team. I'm joined here today by Mick, John and Anya, who are part of our academic team, and I'm also here with Vicky, who is our student ambassador. Before I hand you over to the academic team, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to Horticulture University College and why it's a great place to study. So, what to expect from today's webinar? As I say, I will give you a brief introduction to Horticulture University College. I will then hand you over to the academic team so you can gain a detailed understanding of the courses that we offer in horticulture. We will then answer any questions that you have. Please feel free to put through your questions at any point during the webinar. You can do so via your control panel and we'll get through to these in the live Q&A. So firstly, why come to Horticulture? We have a long-standing reputation for land-based courses since 1893. We are located in rural Essex and we're close to Chelmsford and we have some great transport links. We are a small and specialist institution, friendly, welcoming and supportive, and we have a great community feel. And this means we're an easy stepping stone if you're looking to come to us from school or college, or if you're looking to get back into education. And at Horticulture, we offer a wide range of subjects and facilities, and we give that ideal blend of theory and practical learning. As well as a great academic team, we have a fantastic support services, and they are there to ensure that you succeed and that you make the most out of your student life. So firstly, I'd just like to shout about our National Student Survey results. In 2020, we had 92% overall student satisfaction. This meant that we were ranked highest in our university sector institution in England. So just to talk to you a little bit about our facilities, we are a large open campus of around 480 acres and we are surrounded by beautiful gardens and countryside. We have a dedicated equine centre, home to approximately 70 horses, including a working stud facility. We have our Titchmarsh Animal Centre, which is home to around 250 different species of animal. We have our Canine Therapy Centre. We have our 100-acre working farm. Then looking at our main campus, we have our library and our careers advisory service. We also have our purpose-built higher education study hub. As well as this, we have our 14 halls of residence. We have our garden room restaurant, our Time Out Cafe, and our Starbucks pod. Also, we have our recreation and fitness centre, which includes a gym and free weights room. Finally, we have our design studios, our research labs, as well as our glass houses and our multi-faith room. So, as I mentioned, we have a great location. And within Horticulture, you will find a co-op supermarket. There are also various pubs. We have a cute little village. Also have famous Tiptree tea rooms, and as well as a doctor's surgery and a pharmacy, and also a few restaurants. But we are really, really close to Chelmsford, only 2 miles away. And if you're looking for a break from studying, we have some fantastic shopping centres in Chelmsford. We have a trampoline park, there's an Everyman cinema, as well as a new leisure centre. Most of our student nights out take place in Chelmsford, and here you will find plenty of pubs, clubs and bars, and they are there, different ones to satisfy all budgets and music tastes. If you're looking to travel further away whilst you're studying with us, London is just less than 40 minutes away, only a 40-minute drive to Southend Seafront and only a half-an-hour drive from Stansted Airport. University is a big step in life, so living away needs to have that home-from-home experience. All of our halls are on our main campus, which is a huge bonus, meaning that you're central to everything that you need. We have 14 halls of residence with around 400 rooms in total. At Horticulture, we offer a range of room options, from a single room to a double ensuite, depending on your budget and your preference. Our accommodation has a common room and lounge with a small kitchen to allow you to make snacks and small meals of a weekend. Included in your accommodation price is a meal allowance. You can use this within our garden room restaurant, our Time Out Cafe and our Starbucks pod. In Time Out, you'll be able to buy some groceries and snacks. We also have a laundrette on site, and this is used via an app on your mobile phone. All of our students are guaranteed a place in our halls of residence. So as I mentioned, we have some great academic teams, but there's also a life outside of learning. And we have some fantastic support teams, from our learning support and our wellbeing teams to our student success team and our career support team. We have a very welcoming Students' Union. The Students' Union is there to help with the social life activities and running and setting up clubs with the students. This year, things had to be a little bit different, and we had to make our entertainment COVID safe. So we started off with some SU bar events. We moved to some online fun activities. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back to some normality, and then we can start having some themed fundraising nights. The Students' Union is also there to help with sports and societies and to arrange social nights. Our Students' Union is a small and friendly team, and there are opportunities for you to get involved with this outside of your studying. Now, before I hand you over to the academic team, I'm just going to show you a short video about Brittle.
The great outdoors, and even greater indoors, an education for the real world, putting theory into practice, smaller class numbers and supportive tutors, highest overall for student satisfaction, breaking new ground, breaking the mould for almost 130 years, around 200 open hectares outside Chelmsford, a close community that will welcome you inside, making lifelong friends, experiences for life, being just 35 minutes from London, but a world away. Discover our hands-on, industry-recognised courses, putting theory to the test, putting alumni in high places, putting your career first, putting science into practice.
So that was just a brief whistle-stop tour of an introduction to Bristol University College. I'm now going to hand you over to Mick, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the courses that we offer.
Okay, hopefully. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll, Right, sorry, there's a lot of things in the way here. I'm just a bit out of practice after Christmas. Okay, so good morning, everyone. What I wanted to talk to you about this morning was really why you should study horticulture. A lot of the time, people will think, you know, what's in horticulture for me? What's the real sort of benefit of it? And so I wanted to sort of talk to you a little bit about that today and explain why we think it's a good thing for you to study, and why at the end of it, why we think it's a good idea for you to come and study it here at Bristol University College. So as Kaylee's already said, we're very near to London, so we're very centrally located. London, of course, is the big hub which most people want to come and see, which made us attractive to overseas students over the years. And it certainly means that the communications generally around where we are good, no matter where you're coming from in the country. It's only a short hop away from London. So if you wanted to, say, for instance, you were coming from the north of Britain and you wanted to come home for a weekend, go home for a weekend or for a week away, it's quite easy to do given the transport links we've got. And the village, of course, need I say too much more? Kayla did a wonderful job of that, but Writtle village itself is very picturesque, very nice setting for the university itself. So a little bit of context then. We are the longest standing provider of horticulture education, I should say, in the UK. It's remained the largest provider of education horticulture for over 20 years. I mean, obviously, you know, places will argue about who's the biggest, but I mean, over that 20 years, we've been the major player in this. And we have long established links with other universities, which we do on a regional basis, but also on a national and indeed international level. We have links and cooperations which are ongoing with other places such as our own. And we offer a lot of different types of courses. I say agriculture, horticulture, landscape architecture, garden design, sports, equine, animal management. All of these are the sorts of things that we offer. Horticulture has been there from the start, though. And what you see on the left-hand side of this is the original class of horticulture students. Now, they weren't actually on the site we're on now. The site we're on now, we're only occupied since 1937. But you can see there, things really, in some certain ways, haven't changed. Now, of course, you don't have to come in a flat cap, breeches and boots anymore. But what we still have is a situation where we take you out and we actually show you things and we talk to you about things and we try and make sure that you experience things. Learning is nothing when it's just simply learning about. You have to learn about and learn to do at the same time. So we have a strong emphasis in taking you out and showing you things, even if we're still dealing with theoretical aspects. So in terms of undergraduate opportunities, the BSc Horticulture scheme is basically the flagship scheme of all of the courses we've run since the mid-1980s. It's been the main sort of focus of interest. It was revised in 2020 with a view to changes which would help the students and indeed industry. And it was informed by senior figures from industry from the start. We don't just say, we think we'd like to teach this program. We go out and we say, what sort of skills do you need graduates to have? So it reflects the needs of employers. Now, that's really good from your point of view, because quite frankly, you need to be able to get a job at the end of this. It's all very well coming on the course and thinking, I'll do this because I really enjoy it. And of course, we hope you will enjoy it. But at the end of it, you need to get employment. You need to get out there and make the best of all the skills which you've learned. So there's a strong emphasis on landscape, but we've also augmented this with a more sort of focused initiative to urban green initiatives and sustainability. And of course, the main additions to the course, a strong emphasis on environmental management, science and practice, to try and get some more business-related skills in there, particularly applied aspects of how these relate to all aspects of horticulture. And we really beefed up the sorts of food production, food security, and post-harvest technologies and trade aspects of it, because these are internationally where an awful lot of the emphasis in terms of horticulture lie. So this is the, but you've probably seen this in the prospectus or online. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but just to explain really, rather than go through every single module with this, I think it's important to point out what happens is we have 3 stages of the course, which we say stage 1, stage 2, or level 4, level 5. If you did it full time, you'll just think year 1, year 2, year 3. And all of these years are split up into module units, which are either 15 or 30 credits long. So you'll see on here, there are some things like graduate professional skills and education for sustainable development, which is 15 credits, and that goes across both semester A and B, so semester 1 and 2 here. So we have that running across there, whereas principles of sustainable development is only taught from the start of semester 2, semester B onward. Whereas things like landscape principles and practices and plant propagation, growth and production, they're all taught throughout the year. And one of the real advantages of this is that they have seasonal aspects to them. Horticulture is something which we're stretching things just to try and put it into the 30-week or so that the 2 semesters run across. We're doing September till May, which means that some of the summer jobs are sort of not really covered to the same extent. We cover them in enough. We can do some of them in September, some of them in May. But obviously, if we just try to do landscape principles and practices in 1 semester, there's an awful lot of things which wouldn't be going on in the until the 2nd semester in terms of planting, etc. And equally with the plant propagation, growth and production, it's a year-round job. Horticulture is a year-round job, 365 days of the year. There's always something going on. And so the fact that the BBC cancelled Gardener's World this time of the year, professional horticulturists are never busier trying to fit everything they have to do into an 8-hour day of daylight. So we try and reflect seasonal change in this. And so what you see with the first year is very much an introduction. So we graduate professional skills, for instance, it really gets you into the idea of how to learn and what we need to do, introduces some of the concepts of sustainable development, which are then further developed in the 2nd semester with the Principles of Sustainable Development module. Landscape I've mentioned already, so I won't really talk too much about that just now. Biological processes, it's a module which everyone who's doing a life science-based thing on the programs here at Writtle does. You'll be doing mostly botany. We could really say it's an introduction to botany of this course. And then climate, soils and land use really is looking at all the sorts of aspects of environmental science in terms of the soils, climate, the environment in which plants grow to get you ready for the second year of the course. And then plant propagation, growth and production, as the name suggests, is really all about the methods we use to propagate and increase plant stock and grow it on ready for sale or planting. And then all of these, if you see this, the sort of color coded, they follow on into the second year. So you can see that the top line is a line where you do academic and professional development is all about further study skills, statistics, experimental design come into there as well. And all that culminates with a dissertation, which is an original piece of research work which you would do in your third year. And then you can see the lines along here. So I don't need to go along them all. Economic, social, environmental sustainability, contemporary landscape, applied plant science, and business and trade. And so what you can see here is that you've got themes which are developed throughout the 3 years, which are basically introduced to you in your first year. Now, there's 3 variants within the course. If you don't want to sign up for a full 3 years on the course, and I'm sure most of you here today will be more than happy to sign up for 3 years on it, but should you have any doubt, or if there was some question over how long you could spend out of work, for instance, if you're coming back to this from a working perspective, having already been out of education, sometimes people aren't willing to commit more than a year or 2 years in the first instance. And so the Certificate of Higher Education is basically the first year of the course I just showed you. And the Diploma of Higher Education, it follows from there, is the first 2 years. And we have different entry requirements for these. So you have to have 48 UCAS points to get onto the Certificate of Higher Education in Horticulture. This has the advantage, which if you get on there and you've been out of education for a while, or if horror of horrors, A-levels weren't everything you hoped they were going to be, you've actually got a chance to get on there and see how you get on with the course. We're not setting up to fail here. We support students carefully through the first year. But if by the end of the first year you really feel that that's it, you've got a higher education qualification which is recognised nationally and internationally, useful in the workplace, and you can go and work from there. Most students, upon successful completion of the higher education in horticulture, unless there's some circumstance which precludes their continuing, will go straight into the BSc Honours Horticulture if they want to carry on, rather than going into the Diploma of Higher Education. And the diploma is something which is accessed by fewer students, usually those who know they can only do 2 years on the course in total. Now, the advantages of these changes means we've got a competitive edge. We want to try and make sure that you carry on in terms of your ability to have employment and to be employable, to make sure that the industry itself will want to employ you, that there'll be people almost fighting over you at the end, one would hope. And horticulture graduates can go on to employment, but also go on to postgraduate study programs. And the way we've arranged it now is that you can carry on in horticulture, but you can also go on to things like post-harvest technology, sustainable land management, agriculture, and indeed sometimes students go on to conservation-related degrees, postgraduate degrees elsewhere. So why study a general horticulture degree? Well, in many people's eyes, they think, well, you know, is that specialist enough for me? Horticulture is a very sort of diverse industry. There's lots and lots of different opportunities. And the general degree pathway is perfect for those of you who think you might come here thinking, oh, I quite fancy working in plant propagation. And then you get here, and after a while, you think, oh, you know, food production sounds good, or landscaping. You know, I never even thought of that. And it means you've got the opportunity to explore and look at things and decide exactly what it is that you want to do and what might be your specialism. But it means you don't get pushed down a very specialist route too early in your education. But part of education should be helping you to find exactly what it is that you want to do. And this is why the general horticulture degree has remained resolutely popular at Writtle over a number of years, because of the fact that, you know, it does offer this great opportunity to have a look and see what's ahead. So it's a good one if you want to keep your options open. It's often the best choice from that point of view. You'll gain insight from this program into the management of things like nursery stock production. So wherever possible, visits at the moment haven't been possible. Obviously, with this year and everything that's gone on, it's been less than ideal. But we will always try and get you out to look at nurseries. And of course, what we'll probably do for students from this first year who haven't had a chance to do things, we'll run additional visits or take extra people along next year to try and make sure we do this. It's a really, really important thing that you get out there and see industry and engage with it and work out whether this is something which you could see yourself working in. So we'll take you out to look at where field scale production, sort of like there's a tree nursery here on the right hand side. See just what it is that's involved with this. We'll also take you out to look at landscaping sites. And what we've got here is this was the children's garden when it was being installed at the Kew Gardens, and this was an ex-student, one of our ex-alumni who was involved with this, and so we were invited along, took students along to see just what was happening, to look at the techniques we were using. So it's one thing to hear about it, it's another thing to actually see it being done. So we'll teach you all sorts of practical skills. I don't guarantee you'll be hanging up in a tree. We'll teach you about it, but there are opportunities. If, say, for instance, you fancied doing a bit of hanging around in trees using chainsaws and you've got a bit of experience in there, we do have short courses which are usually there at a discount rate for you. There's also lots of emphasis on urban landscapes. Most people, certainly in Britain, around about 86% of people live in cities or towns, what we would really generally see as an urban landscape. Only 14% of people live in the countryside. So what's the point in concentrating all our efforts there? And so we will we look at areas such as this in Paris, where we look at how a whole building can become a green resource in itself. And we certainly use examples such as going to Southeast Asia, Singapore, rapidly becoming the world's greenest city, literally in terms of its colour. If you're more interested in botanic gardens, plant sciences and conservation, well, there's a world out there for you. Last time I went into Kew, I bumped into an ex-student of a horticulture degree student who was still working there. He was on his own television starring role with Michelle Roux on a programme shortly before that. Opportunities are there. I mean, you can chase money or you can chase your interest. And I think with horticulture, it allows you to do a little bit of both, really. It's not the highest paid salaries you'll ever come across, but the opportunities sometimes are of world class significance, and you can get there from a horticulture degree. We also teach you about the plant sciences. Peering down a microscope is de rigueur throughout. Certainly most of the first and second year we'll be looking down them, and we start to try and understand why plants grow in particular ways. So try and puzzle out, say for instance, what happened with the tree on the bottom right hand corner here, why it grew like that, how these things happen naturally, and what it means, and what that means, and what we can do in terms of manipulation of plant growth, in terms of selling or utilization of plants for food, for profit, or for other sorts of gain. And certainly onto the food production, we do go and have a look in terms of food production. We take you to large scale producers. I mean, these sorts of tomato growers that we take you to, they're like infinity rows with all these tomatoes growing down them. Sort of literally crowds of people working in their production, which is sent out to national centres, sometimes it's exported. And certainly it's an increasingly important part of horticulture in the UK. It's always been important, but ever since, say, for instance, Brexit, we may find that it might be better from our point of view to look at how this is done. And certainly we look at things like automation and roboticization, and things like, say, for instance, the economics and the labour constraints which surround all of these sorts of areas. And we're looking at new things as well. Now, this is, don't all expect you're all going to be crowding into this area when you get to the university. This is a new experimental unit which has been put up. Very few people are allowed in at the moment because of the work that's going on, but we are looking to set up industry partnerships to investigate. And these sorts of pink and purpley lights, which sometimes you may see in odd pictures about hydroponics, plants only need certain wavelengths to grow, and so of course looking at how to maximize this and how to best utilize these sorts of facilities enclosed units means that we can be growing plants above ground, underground, anywhere where there's a space and there's a power source. We could be looking to grow fresh crops. Now, in terms of, I think that I'm possibly, I don't know if John, if you want to say a little bit about this now, the sustainable food production and fresh produce. Right, he's not said anything, so I presume. I think that there's been something said about this in the last presentation, and so. But what we'll just do with this, we'll just look through it. Obviously, if you see this, the first year of this, an awful lot of this is similar. So your biological process, climate, soils, and land use, the graduate professional skills, and principles of sustainable development. They're all the same as you would find on a horticulture degree. But then you've got this integrated production systems, global food systems, which are introduced in the first year, and agribusiness management, which means that this is a different course altogether. So this is the course you come on if you really are absolutely focused on the fact you want to be involved in food production. And it's the sort of course that would probably appeal to people who are maybe not quite sure if they're interested in agriculture or horticulture, but knew they were certainly interested in food production, would certainly be a general interest from that point of view. And when it comes down to innovations in food production, just to give you, now this picture is a little bit old now of the picture of the glass houses below. It's got that little circle around there showing where the football pitch scale, that's a Premiership football pitch scale along there to give you an idea of the size of these glass houses. I say it's a little bit out of date. There's more glass houses there now than there was. They've expanded it. But certainly the scale of food production is enormous. But then with 65 million or so of us in the UK to feed, it needs to be. All good tomatoes produced in there readily get assimilated into the UK market at various times of the year. And this picture of the robot here, this, believe it or not, is a robot. It's a robot weeding machine which operates solar powered and operates 24/7 in French vineyards, keeping them free of weeds, which could compete for nutrients and water with the vines. In terms of postgraduate opportunities, a couple of postgraduate. Again, John, are you available to talk about this?
Yes, sorry. Yes, sorry, Mick. Sorry. I did warn you. I said I wouldn't fall asleep. But I just heard you moving off the sustainable food production, so I'm sorry. I'm back in place now. Let me just deal with the MSc post harvest. Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm John Cullum. Looking at those who've signed up this morning, I know some of you have contacted me already, so you now see who you've been sending emails with. Yes, the MSc post-harvest and crop production courses is something we started in 1996, so we've been running a long time. We've been running every year. Tend to get, not so much this year with COVID, but usually attracts quite a good number of international students to it. It's a course actually which, when it was written, I thought, well, I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it works quite well. You'll see running across the two long compulsory modules, every student looks at sustainable crop production. That can take either a very much a horticultural flavour with horticultural crops, or students can also study agricultural crops. It's available as two separate awards. And all students look at post-harvest systems. You see the other modules there below, like global trade and food security. But this does give students an opportunity really to study the subject areas that they're interested in, because although students attend the same lectures, the assignments and practical work they do often reflects that particular interest. So when I'm teaching plant pathology in post-harvest, the agriculture students will do onions and potatoes or something. The horticulture students will do apples or tomatoes, whatever it might be. And it does mean as well that for our international students, they can, their studies can be on tropical crops rather than having to just do things that we grow in the UK. And in the second semester, there's a little basket of option modules that students can choose from, and the course is, like most MScs, a full calendar year, so it starts in September, goes on to September, and during the summer months the students do their main dissertation, which can be at the college, which is often at the college at Writtle, but can be in industry. And we have had people, you know, working in biological control systems in Nairobi and so on. It is quite possible to work abroad as well. So very flexible and interesting course, and a lot of applications for it this year, which is encouraging.
Okay, thank you very much for that, John. And part-time study, we're not doing part-time study this year, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's something we put in for those who wish to study part-time and who have a more general interest in horticulture. You see the modules look much the same, but it's probably for students who have a wider interest in horticulture and will study part-time. So that will be taken over 3 years.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for that. So, time now to think. Well, we feel we're reasonably good at presenting higher education and postgraduate education in horticulture, but we really think, well, what else we're good at doing? Well, we've got strong industrial links. Now, this is really important. Industry links are important from the point of view you need to be able to engage with industry. And so industrial placements between years 1 and 2 or years 2 and 3 usually take the form of a short summer placement, about 3 months. We can help you with these in terms of finding them. They're not the old sort of sandwich placements that used to go out and they were you had assignments to do and credit ratings and things like that, but they are still something which is important from the point of view of helping you to hone your practical skills, hone your applied skills, and also to decide whether something's for you, because you may have been thinking, I don't know, tomato growing's for me. I was so excited by it. 3 months in a tomato growing nursery, you may think it's all very well, but I think something else awaits, maybe, you know, sort of dahlia production, I don't know, whatever else. But the whole point being that you go out there and you get a flavour of it, and you can see whether you feel it is something you want to do. And the reality of horticulture is often slightly different to what you may think it is in terms of a theory, and that's because you bring something to you got an idea of what it might be like. Well, there's no point of that. We want you to go out there and experience it. So we really do encourage you to work in the summer if you can. Year-long placements are less frequent, but they're still open. People can interrupt and go off for a placement for a year should an opportunity arise. And again, they're not something which we supervise. They're something which you would have to undertake under your own steam, as it were. Not just that, though, we regularly host conferences and industry days where we try and get people in. Or at the moment, it's all online, but we try and get people in to talk to students, try and talk to them about the reality of it, what the opportunities are, help them to really engage. All the courses, as I said already, have input from industrial representatives, and we've got student-sponsored scholarships. Anyone who's sat there, suddenly hands in the air thinking, hooray, all the fees will be paid. Scholarships usually tend to be a contribution to fees rather than, we don't have any full bursaries or anything at the moment. But the point here at the end, I don't want to make this sound like it's sort of old school tie or anything like that, but there's a lot of ex-Writtle students now in senior positions in the horticulture industry. Now, this doesn't mean that once you're in that you've got a guaranteed place, because it's a competitive industry and they want good people. But they know what happens at Writtle. They know the quality of the students that come out of there, and they've probably employed ex-Writtle students previous to you turning up wanting to get employment. You're in a very advantageous position because they know who you are, but simply because of what you've done at Writtle. So when we visit industry settings, in this case, this is the RHS gardens at Hyde Hall, the people you've taken round by will give you a quite frank assessment about what's going on there, what it involves. They talk to you from the standpoint of it being an industrial context, and so they're not just talking to you about the sort of theoretical side of it. They talk to you about their jobs and what they do and why they actually enjoy it. You might go to specialist facilities, as I said, such as food production or other sorts of production facilities. And so you see here that the students get to go into these places and have a look. It's described to them by someone who's doing the job and knows all about it. Study tours. We have had some very interesting study tours where students have gone off to, in this case here, this was to Almeria a couple of years ago. This was 2017. Just I mean, pictures of students having nice holidays don't seem to change much from one year to the next. There's regrettably no study tour this year, unfortunately, due to everything that's going on. But study tours, if we can hold them, we will have them either in the UK or, if possible, to continental Europe, so you can see just what's going on. And the whole point is to look at innovation and practice. Now, there's a strong emphasis upon practical skills, therefore. Practical skills are at the core of the curriculum. We're not just an add-on. We want you to learn by doing. And we want you to read about it and find out about it, but we want you to apply what you know. And so we have a strong focus on practical teaching. Now, this is especially lengthy, if you like, in the first year. We do quite a lot of practicals with you in the first year. The second year, students sometimes say, oh, there's less practical. But actually, it's up to you. You can apply things and go and do things. We've got a whole estate, we've got glass houses, we've got facilities, and we want to listen to what it is you want to do. And if you've got an idea, as long as it's not something which either you can't do or might be dangerous or worse, still illegal, if you've got an idea of something you want to do, we'll listen and we'll see if there's something we can do to help you with it. And so we really try and emphasize that. And that doesn't necessarily have to be here. Lots of students have things they get on with outside of the university where they're applying their practical skills whilst they're still studying. So in the first year, it might be something as simple as getting you to do practical tasks. In this case, landscape-based tasks. In this picture here, could be looking at understanding propagation techniques. You'll get introduced in terms of when we look at industry to all the roboticization and all the rest of it. You won't do too much in the way of roboticized things at the college. We teach you the basic principles. We try and get you to appreciate how plants grow, how they develop, why they do, what we can do to manipulate them, and then how that translates into some of the more automated systems which tend to have been adopted by industry. We also teach you the importance of ecology in designed landscapes, to look at exactly how we can improve the credentials. In this case here, this is one of these habitat stacks which we build, so we can take that apart and we can do a nice sort of monitor of what sorts of things are living in this case, the former the BBC Gardeners World Wildlife Garden. And students periodically, they might take it apart, rebuild it, have a look what's in there, log what's in there. And this is one of the wildflower meadows on the left-hand side, which was we developed several of these to try and increase biodiversity in grasslands. Practical also means practicals in labs. We get you in there. As I said, quite a lot of peering down microscopes that goes on, working in fume cupboards. But really, the whole point of this is to make sure that you, by hands-on learning, what used to sometimes be referred to as kinesthetic learning, you really bolster your understanding of the subject. So we won't make you a plant pathologist at the end of the first year, but you'll understand what's involved with plant pathology, for instance, and you'll understand cell biology, and you'll understand a little bit maybe about plant propagation. And all of this will help you when you've got an area, an unpromising area such as this. And this was something that first year students were presented with about 4 years ago, and how to turn it into this. And this is what they did within their year at the university in the first year. So we try and get you projects where you can appreciate that you can change things, that you can apply what you know, and that there will be a manifest and positive change at the end of it. And this is them actually working on it. They decided where they wanted to build the paths. We described how to do things to them, and they went about it. There's always staff on hand when you're doing practicals in the first year, and we're there to guide you, but we really want you to be self-motivated and almost like autonomous in what you do. We try and encourage you to go out and work on areas outside of normal hours, normal teaching hours if possible, in order to be able to achieve what it is you want to do. And plants, of course, are a key material. Just 3 examples of nice plants around the campus. I could put 3,000 up here. There's so many really lovely plants around there. And it's important you understand them. Even if you are more interested in food production, understanding plants and how they grow is vitally important as a first step towards all understanding of horticulture. You have to understand plants. So all students in the first year on the horticulture degree, anyway, learn around about anywhere from about 170 to 200 plants in their first year, depending upon the availability of time for identification. You learn to identify them at different times of the year, not just by the flowers, but by the leaves, and in some cases by their winter resting growth. So graduate employability is something, as I sort of head towards the end here now, it's important that you realise you will get a job at the end of this, as long as you complete successfully, of course. Because the better you do, the better the jobs are there, but there's always more jobs than graduates to fill them. That's one of the sad realities. I say sad realities, not from your point of view. It's a fantastic opportunity, but from the point of view of industry, there just aren't enough people yet coming through. And don't worry, there still won't be. If we've got 100 people on the first yearly course this year, you'll still all likely get a job, because there's lots and lots of graduate opportunities out there. Horticulture industries are short on graduate trained personnel. That's not just in the UK, it's an international picture. And many of our graduates on that basis, they actually manage to secure employment even before they've finished, to the extent that in the past we've even had to exclude students from visits because the person we're going to go and see, the industry we're going to go and see, has said if any of your students have got jobs in other areas of this sector, they can't come here. And we've had to tell them, sorry, you can't go there because of the possibility of industrial sort of, I'm going to say industrial espionage, it makes it sound too severe, but the fact that there's confidentiality about some of the things that are going on there. So we don't just expect you to wander out and hope someone walks up to you on your way out after graduation and offers you a job. It's more structured than that. Careers advice is available throughout the whole of your 3 years. It starts from the moment you get here. And that can be as simple, if you like, as just going and finding the sorts of jobs are about and having a meeting with career staff when you first get here, to looking at securing placements. But they also give you advice and encouragement in terms of things like how to write a CV, how to present yourself. And this comes up in module delivery as well as the career service itself. We have a jobs notice board as part of this, so you can go and have a look and see what the opportunities are. You might look at this and think, I can see where all the jobs are coming up at the moment. That's the sort of area to concentrate on. Or you may just be there looking at your dream job to see if something that you really want to do comes up. And of course, all of these things are important from the point of view of you throughout your 3 years here at the university. We have careers fairs as well, where people do literally stand around waiting to go up and ask them about the job opportunities. The one thing about these is really a good opportunity for you to practice your own personal skills in terms of selling yourself. If you go up to them and say, what have you got? They won't be impressed. If you go up to them and you explain to them what you've got, you give them this sort of little elevator pitch, as it were, about why they should employ you. In some cases, employers are interested in having a look at you. They might say, come and work for us for the summer. We might be interested. And the long-term relationship that can be built up this way can be very important from the point of view of your launching point in your career. And of course, then there's graduation. Graduation is one of these things where in the past you used to meet certain Mr. Titchmarsh. I still keep him on. He's no longer our patron, not since we became a university, but actually just shows you that we do attract senior figures. We attract interest from across the horticultural world. And I think that it's important that you realise the importance of securing a RITL degree. A RITL degree is something to be proud of and something to aim for. And after the course, well, this is where it gets interesting. I did say to you earlier on that one of the real issues from the point of view of coming into horticulture is knowing exactly where you want to go. Many people don't. Many of the people who've gone and say, for instance, worked as, I don't know, say journalism, for instance, so there's quite a few ex-students have gone off into journalism. In many cases, they didn't know they wanted to be a journalist or a writer. It's just something which they developed along the way. And so these sorts of things are all possibilities, and all of these sorts of opportunities have come from people who have been on horticulture degrees. In terms of international links, interestingly, we get students coming from all over the world to study at Writtle. Now, this picture here, you won't necessarily get attacked by students from overseas. This is the guy in the picture, Steve Furbert. He was actually a Bermudian student. So we've trained the whole of the Bermuda parks. And I was lucky enough to go on a lecture tour to Bermuda last January, just before lockdown. And Steve Furbert was one of the senior supervisors at the Parks Department. He was just about to retire, but he spoke and remembered Writtle so fondly. It lives on in people's minds. And the thing is, you might think, oh, I quite fancy going to Bermuda. Well, you never know. In your first year, there might be somebody from there. Make friends with them. I always tell everybody on the first day through the door, find out where the people in the class are from. They might be from somewhere interesting. If they are, sort of make friends, see if you get on, because it might be the start of a friendship which spans the globe. So it's important. This is the class of 2019. The class of 2020 has been a little bit more disrupted, and we couldn't take the sort of socially distanced photograph that we needed. But what you'll see on here, this is just one intake, and you can see on there variously Zimbabwe, New Zealand, China, England, Germany, Serbia on there, and then we've got one Anglo-Irish and an American. So and Ukraine as well, not forgetting Ukraine. All those represented within this class. And that's not the whole class. There's a couple of them that either didn't want to be on the photograph or were missing at that point. So we do try and make sure that everyone's welcome, and we celebrate this sort of international appeal of the whole course. Now, I could talk at length about the staff. I think many of the colleges have an excellent teaching staff. I mean, a lot of the horticulture staff in other colleges are ex-colleagues of mine, or people I've worked with in the past, people that I know, I'm friends with. And so I wouldn't really want to say that our staff are necessarily better than them. What I would say, though, is compared to where some of these other people work, there's a breadth of experience in the School of Sustainable Environments and Design that's hard to match anywhere. All the staff have strong industrial background, extensive industry experience in horticulture or related areas, both within the UK and in many cases abroad as well. And whilst at the moment I know COVID is such a nuisance, people can't come and study at the place, but it is a campus which is appealing in all seasons. As the snow starts to fall here in Colchester, the picture on the top right-hand corner seems especially appropriate. But the campus looks good all year round. It's a lovely place to study, and this is one of the reasons I think why students come to study not just horticulture but other things. It's just a really nice, appealing place, a small, friendly, and appealing place to study. You've got lots of facilities despite this, lots of opportunities to get hands-on and grow things, study things. It's just a great environment to study in. Okay, so just to finish off then, are you ready to study horticulture? We're ready for you to come. Are you ready? And if you've got any questions, obviously there'll be opportunities to ask at the end of this webinar. But if, say for instance, you log off the webinar, half an hour's time, you sat down after a cup of tea and think, oh, there's something I really wanted to ask. John Cullum, I'm sure most of you have been in touch with him. He's very active in making sure that he stays in touch with applicants and people who've shown any sort of interest at all in the course. But John is the person to contact while you're actually applying. He deals with queries through the application process. If there's anything which is best passed on to myself, to Anya Pereira, the head of department, or to other members of the teaching team, it will duly be passed on to us if it's a very specific inquiry of that nature. But he's your first point of contact. So I'm just going to exit that now.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Mick. So we will now go on to your questions. Before I do that, I just want to give you a little bit of where you can find some more information. So bear with me one moment. PowerPoint has started at the beginning. Fabulous. So obviously we have our website that you can take a look at to find out more about our courses. We do have our virtual open day hub. Unfortunately, we are running one-to-one sessions, but the horticulture ones are fully booked. However, you will still receive the link tomorrow, so please do keep an eye on our website for when they will release some new one-to-one dates for you to book on to ask any questions that you may have. As I say, we have the Open Day Hub. Here you can find out some more about course booklets. You also have support functions, also details about student finance and accommodation. We are running, after this webinar, webinars on accommodation, student finance, and about student life. So if you do have some questions around those, please do make sure you book yourself onto one of those for this afternoon's session. We have also just launched our brand new 360 tour. On here you can view various facilities. You can take a look inside our glass houses. You can take a look inside our main campus. So please do, in your own time, take a look at that. But for the moment, we will have a look at your question and get those answered for you. One more thing before I move on. Anya, would you mind just talking through again the Liberty webinar, which again, the link will be sent to you in tomorrow's email?
Yes, very happy for anyone to join us. We're launching a series of very new webinars linking industry with us and alumni and new students. So please join this webinar. We're talking about the issues that are facing the sector. The first one is next Wednesday, and you're very welcome to log on to that and hear some of our industry contacts speaking.
Perfect, thank you very much. So moving on to the questions. I was just wondering how many students you tend to have in year one of BSc horticulture course.
Well, yes, good morning all. I'll be answering this. This year, which obviously, as Mick has said, it was a bit more difficult for us to recruit international students because of COVID. The first year intake was 18. Applications for this year are quite strongly up compared with last year for the hort and sustainable food production. So one would hope that numbers would be higher this September.
Perfect, thank you very much. And in normal circumstances, what is the balance with practical and theory learning?
Sorry, just unmute there. Yeah, it depends. As I said, in the first year of the course, practical forms quite an extensive part of what we do. We do longer practicals in the first year because it's important that we sort of guide you into it and sort of get you to think about things. It's like all things in terms of education. At first, it takes you a little while to develop particular skills. Often in the second and third year, practicals form shorter sessions. It depends on what it is really, but the practicals are actually run for shorter sessions. But there's a greater expectation that students will undertake their own practical-based projects. And so some of the things, for instance, are project-based, where they will spend a significant amount of time doing things. But it's not a gardening course, as it were. You know, you're not just going to have lots and lots of long practical classes where we do one thing after another. We try and teach you the principles of what practical horticulture is about. And so the first year you do more than you would, say, for instance, in terms of taught time, but there's opportunity throughout the 3 years to apply practical skills.
Perfect, thank you very much. Do I need any prior experience within the industry before coming onto one of the courses?
My answer would be it's not a prerequisite in terms of that you have to have the practical experience. That said, it's always useful if you do have some. The more and more practical experience you have, the better. But what you shouldn't think is that you haven't got practical experience and it will disadvantage you in your first year. It will not. We will try and we treat everyone coming onto the course as if like they're starting from the same stage. It will help you if you do a bit of practical, experience, do some reading, especially before you come on the course, to develop your own sense of, if you like, confidence and your own sense of your own abilities in order to be able to do things. But then again, you know, don't feel that because you haven't. If someone on the first day turns out they've worked in nursery stock for the last 10 years, yes, they'll know a lot more about nursery stock than you, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be better on the degree than you. That they are what they are. Somebody with the experience we've got in first and second year students, we've got an barrister to the High Court of New Zealand and to the High Court of England. And so if we're anyone who was teaching legal aspects of the course may feel intimidated from the point of view of lecturing. The fact that someone knows more about something than you is just not to, it's nothing you need to worry about. So if you know little about horticulture, what we really want is enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic about horticulture, we want to see you. You know, if you know a lot about it, but you think, I'm not sure if I want to work in this, it's possibly something you want to go away and think about before coming on the course and spending 3 years of your life to come to that conclusion. So, it's interest and enthusiasm which we're really wanting to cultivate before you come here.
Perfect, thank you very much. I have got a question for Vicky here. How have you found the teaching through COVID? Have your tutors been supportive? I think you're, oh no, you're not. Can't quite hear you at the moment, Vicky. I think, I tell you what, hang on, we'll sort that out in a second. I'll get back to you with your audio. Let's just ask another question and then we will get back to you. What kind of assessment methods do you use? Is it just exams or do you do assignments and other things?
There are many assessment methods that we don't use. I think would be the best way of saying it, rather than trying to list them. We use a variety of assessment methods. We will use exams from time to time. We use short tests, assignments, essays, presentations, practical tests, all of these sorts of things that people produce posters, we get people to use videos and things like that. So we are, and some types of assessment actually encourage you to use diverse methods of presentation of the information. So we might say you can produce a video or give a presentation or do this or do that. So we try and make sure that we vary the types of assessment, because going back to that point I made before about experience, I mean, some people are actually better in terms of their ability to put themselves across in some situations than others. There are those who just would wish it was all exams because it's 3 hours and then they're off and they're happy. You know, there's other people who fear exams more than anything else. They'd rather face a lion in a cage than go and sit through an exam. And so I think we have to sort of make sure that we don't ever make anyone feel that the whole course is stacked up against them. But it also allows us to explore the fact that, you know, it's different ways of judging people's ability to do things. And so yes, we do have a lot of different methodologies which we apply.
If I can just jump in for a second there, I think one of the important things is that the assessments are geared up to what we know the industry wants from graduates. So we very much think about the skills and the attributes and the qualities that they want to be able to succeed and try to embed that in the types of assessments that we actually offer. So I'll let you move over to Vicky, because I know she wants to, there was a question specifically about delivery.
Perfect, thank you. Just check that we have sorted Vicky's audio there. I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. So Vicky, are you back with us? No. Okay. Okay, that's.
Shall I just prompt in a little bit? I would say that one of the things that has happened during this online delivery is that students actually have been very supportive of the methods that we're using. And because the groups are quite small, we're able to do far more interactive discussion type elements online. So there are aspects that have worked really, really well. And I think our students generally have felt that we've been very supportive of them. Of course, what that means is that we can do one-to-one tutorials online and keep up to date with how they're progressing. But it's not quite the same as being on site. We do appreciate that, but I think generally it's worked very well.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm just trying to, I think if we can get Vicky to write her answer in, then we can send that across as well, just so we get that answered. So I'm just, Vicky's, bless her, has not done one of these before, so we're just showing her on how to do that as well, so we make sure that we get that question answered for you. Okay, so for the moment, what I'll do is we've got a short video to show you about what changes you could have when studying horticulture from a career change. So I'll show that for the moment and hope that we can get this issue sorted with Vicky. So I think that does show you maybe after this you perhaps don't want to go back to the commute into London. John, I'm not sure if you wanted to finish up on
Yes.
what you were going to say after this.
Yes, I was going to say that the mixed video about career changes just made me want to say that we do get quite a number of students who want to change careers. Mick already mentioned the lawyer that we've got, and one thing that you may not realise that is if you have already done a degree in another subject, you may feel, well, I can't do another one. But this year, agriculture and horticulture courses, the government has allowed these graduates who wish to take another BSc course in these subject areas, they can do so and get another student loan for tuition fees. With that, we sort of got onto that very late last year, and we have one student on the first year who's now doing a 4-year part-time BSc with his degree in whatever it was, and he is getting his tuition fees paid. We will not know till March as to whether that will continue. We think it will, but if you are a graduate listening to this and thinking, well, I can't really afford to pay myself to do this, there is hope. And we've already got one student in line who's done German and philosophy, I think, and is working actually in a large nursery. He's got very interested and wished he'd done a degree now in horticulture. She's all lined up. Once we know where that's whether that's going to be possible, she will be able to apply. Can I just say, when talking about applicants, because those of you who are on, I was probably where my inattention was earlier. I was busy writing down who was here and who I knew and who I didn't. I wasn't listening, forgive me. But I know some of you have already applied. Those who haven't, I've got you on my list. What I would ask you to do is, if you want to do a full-time course, then you should apply through UCAS if you're a home student. International, you can apply direct to the college. And if you're part-time, and that includes a graduate entry onto the undergraduate course, again, you can apply direct to the college. But get in touch with me if there's any questions about these things. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. So we have come to the end of our webinar. If you take a look on your chat function now, Vicky has put her answer down. I will just read that her answer out to you, but just wanted to let you know that it is there from Vicky. Hi there, lecturers have definitely been super supportive virtually. Lots of additional services are also available and are so accessible. I really recommend them as they've helped me a lot. I know other students have used virtual tutorials and have been able to use recordings of any practicals that they've missed. So apologies for not hearing Vicky, but you have her message there for you to take a look at. We have come to the end of our webinar. Please feel free to pop through any questions if you have afterwards to inquire@writtle.ac.uk. All of this will be sent to you via an email, which you will receive tomorrow. So I'm just going to show you a quick video on how to access our virtual applicant hub. That will be it from us, but thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we hope to see you in September.